Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back in general to these videos. Yeah, I've been busy for a while now, so forgive me for slacking off. But I'm back now. Spent the last few weeks reading. Reading is an essential part of my life, so that's in the bag. Where lost time is in the creation of content. I've just been feeling a bit burnt out, but let's let's not focus on that. Instead, let's talk about our topic of today. You've seen the thumbnail, you know it. It's Harry Potter and the Prince of Slytherin by the Sinister Man. This is a fan fiction, and it's a really good one. I mean, points for the name itself, the Sinister Man. That's a good name, isn't it? I still haven't double checked. Do they call this aliases or pen names? The Sinister Man. It's a great name. So yeah, this is a fan fiction of the Harry Potter books. Honestly, I haven't seen anybody talk about fan fiction on YouTube, which is weird given how many people actually read these. So after my last book, I've been reading really thick books for the past few months. So for some reason, I felt this nostalgia for this world, and obviously I could just reread all the books, but for some reason, fan fiction feels a bit more ready, a bit as in the entry point, the transition to the world is a bit more, I don't know, smooth, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I wouldn't say that I am I am a person who is deeply entrenched in the HP fandom or in fan fiction as a whole. Fan fiction seems like it's died down in the recent years. There was a time in 2015, 2018, 19 there. Those are the years where fan fiction really was at its peak. But I don't know. I don't quote me on that. I haven't done any research pertaining to that area. But anyway, fanfiction is still something that is viable. There are some really good ones. There are some solid gems that you might stumble into. The problem is that, especially with HP, this is like the biggest. When you check any of the fanfiction sites, Archive of Our Own or fanfiction.net, I don't know much about Wattpad in terms of fanfiction, but HP dominates all these other stories. There are lots and lots of fanfiction out there, and not to tread on anyone's toes or anything, but most of it isn't quite good. As in, most of it is just people putting a mark on this story and telling it through their own eyes. But there are some really good ones out there, and in my humble opinion, HP and the Prince of Slytherin is one of the really concrete good ones. It's surprising, given it's satisfying due to the fact that I stumbled upon it, and I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about this story. As you can see on the thumbnail, it's books 1 to 3. So he has, again, since I'm not really deeply entrenched in fan fiction as my go-to genre. There's a whole lot of terminology that I don't know. So don't judge me too harshly. Given that, I'll say that HP and the Prince of Slytherin is an alternative universe in which, and we also have the WBWL, where we have two twins. So we have there's Jim Potter and there's Harry Potter, and they're twins, and both James and Lily survived. So events took a different turn. This world in general is I don't want to say more concrete, but it's a bit. Obviously it's structured differently. There are some. It features some standards of fan fiction, especially with the goblins. But okay, let me find a way to explain this story in a concrete way. So in this story, we have had for some reason the Potters do leave Harry with the Dursleys. He's mistreated, and then he eventually finds out that he is a wizard. James Potter shows up and explains everything, that they gave him up to live with the Dursleys, and there's a whole. He tries to explain that, but Harry is understandably very disappointed in his parents as a whole. Why would they abandon him to such mistreatment and everything? So he comes to Hogwarts embittered, and eventually he is sorted into Slytherin. I wouldn't say that this is one of those stories that is heavily based on the politics of the wizarding world. I mean, there are these elaborate stories where we have ancient and noble houses and all that. We have almost a Victorian era setting applied to the wizarding world. This isn't one of those stories. I mean, it leans towards it. I mean, compared to the original story, there's a lot more political leaning to it, but it doesn't take it to quite the extremes that I've seen many other stories do. So yeah, he goes to Slytherin, makes friends, and obviously the Potters are very disappointed. Now, something that is explored again is the idea of prophecies. Now, mind you, you know that prophecies and the wizarding world are. I mean, it's almost as if you can't have a wizarding world story without prophecies. I mean, by this, I obviously I'm talking about Fantastic Beasts and the role that prophecies also play in that story. Okay, I don't really have any problem with it, but I low-key have a little bit of problem with it. But anyway, there's this really cool prophecy in here where obviously there's the one that Sybil Trelawney made in reference to the boy who lived. In this world, Jim is the boy who lived. It's still not yet confirmed since the story is not done. Is Jim the real boy who lived, or is he just the one people think lived? A cool thing is the scars, since both boys have scars. So Harry has his signature lightning style mark. I mean, you can see it just on the left corner of this cover. And Jim, actually, their names aren't James. They have these elaborate names, like Harry is called Hadrian, Remulus, Potter. I forget what Jim's full name are, but it's very elaborate. Anyway, so Harry has his signature lightning scar, while Jim has this almost V-shaped scar. Now you realize later that these aren't just scars; they are actually there's some meaning to it. Let me not spoil most of that, but it's interesting because it just adds a lot of shade to everything that this story talks about. Everything it covers is more alive. Obviously, there's a lot of sibling rivalry between between Jim and Harry. It's also compounded by the fact that James, Harry's dad, is a big disappointment. I mean, honestly, I don't think I've seen anyone who is we call it bashing in terms of fan fiction, but James is a big disappointment to me. I don't know. Also, Jim is very less than competent. Harry is very competent. There's a lot of Slytherin values that come into play: ambition, cunning, that shapes him up as a tangible guy. I wouldn't say that in this story he is overpowered. I mean, he does gain a lot of abilities as you progress, but it doesn't just show up to Hogwarts. I mean, there are crazy stories out there where he's raised by goblins, or where he finds a phoenix and starts practicing magic and shows up at Hogwarts as a prodigy. No, he shows up at Hogwarts as a first year with only knowledge that he is able to gather from books he has been reading for the 1 month he had. But over time, as he progresses, he learns things, he picks up new skills, and the progression is it makes sense. He's not overpowered as he doesn't just show up anywhere. Most of his skill is in the intellect, plus the struggle between I guess the inner parts, the opposing sides of him, the Gryffindor attributes that he has and the Slytherin attributes that he has. It's interesting to see this guy, this author, the Sinister Man, says that he most of what he's doing here is subverting most of the tropes, the ones that we see often in fan fictions and the ones that are in the story itself. He does a lot of interesting things with it. Obviously, you can tell this is something I want to talk about a lot. I mean, I could go on and on. He adds a lot of mythology into it that I feel colors everything, especially with okay, so far this story has covered year 1, year 2, year 3. It's currently at year 4. I mean, it's a bit stalled. I don't know how he plans to go on, but I, for one, am holding my breath. I don't know where we're going from here, but so books 1 to 3 are done. Book 4 is still in progress, and we still have all these other things to go. Now, I mean, there's a lot of things that are added into this story. I mean, the Prince of Slytherin, from the title, it's actually a nice addition. There are other things like what is Azkaban and exactly who are the Dementors and what's up with those guys. It's interesting to consider also the Sirius situation, the Sirius Peter Pettigrew, Remus Lupin situation. And there's something else that he does cover. I mean, these marauders, they were teenage pranksters during their school years. They moved on and became these almost heroes, these dedicated people who are fighting against evil, against Voldemort and his disciples, I guess, his Death Eaters. And it's interesting to see how their relationship is growing. Okay, growing, but the term growing makes you think that it's actually improving. That's not the case. Obviously, they have changed as they've grown up. Their bitterness, there's some things that have festered up to their adulthood, and it's interesting to see how these grown men look back on their days as teenagers, the things they used to do, and how it's all expressed. It's very interesting. It's very intriguing, especially how they resolve all this teenage trauma. How does for example, Sirius Black and Severus Snape. Obviously, Severus is still a professor at Hogwarts teaching potions, and he still has all his signature characteristics. It's just interesting to see these two men look back on their days and all the enmities and bitterness that simmers between them, and just see how they deal with it. This is one good thing about I guess fan fiction. You have these guys, especially when you have a really talented person who is doing this. You see a story and you and this guy comes in and adds a lot more shade to it, and you feel like in the end it makes you feel like the characters are more real. Even I don't know what I'm saying, but the takeaway is that I really enjoyed this. You should check it out. HP and the Prince of Slytherin. I'm reading it off fanfiction.net. I think it's also an archive of our own. Plus, those are the places I think you can get it from. I have not exhausted anything. This is just a brief overview of the story so that I can sort of say, oh, this is what I've been reading, blah, 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 you should check it out, blah, blah, blah. I have a lot to say about this story. I really, really, really want to explore it. I don't know if I'm going to make videos on it and put them on my other channel, the Law Master Recast, the other channel that is heavily law-based, or if I'm just going to, talk about it here. But really, 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 this is what, obviously it's not rated, its ratings is teen, so it doesn't have any things that will might turn you off, as in obviously it does deal with some mature themes in terms of PTSD, mental health. Mental health is something that we've seen a big resurgence in many stories. Everybody is talking about it. In fact, I don't know if you've watched my other video about Moon Knight, the Moon Knight series. That is, I think it just, the final episode aired this week. Anyway, mental health is something we all want to see talked about more and explored, and all that. So let me just stop there, because I might talk and this is not one of those videos. This is just a brief overview of the story and my thoughts on it. Obviously, I really enjoyed it. I really do, and I'm quite curious to see where he will go with it. I just hope he will go with it. I actually have. Let me give you my parting shots. This is how I feel right now, because this thing is in my blood, as they say. Let's see. Okay. Let me say one last thing. There is nothing worse than reading an amazing story only to find that it is unfinished and that it might never be finished. It feels almost like a betrayal on the other's part. Like, you got me invested in something, got me wound up tight over hints and open padded plots. I mean, padding in reference to HTML coding and all that. And open padded plots that never get wrapped. I have spent the last week or so in such a story. This story. We met at a party, we danced, we exchanged quips laden with innuendo. The pounding music lit our blood, set it aflame with and every shadow, every heavy laden look held a hint of promise. And now the party is ended and you are nowhere to be seen, and I am left unfulfilled. Such a tease. So yeah, Harry Potter and the Prince of Slytherin. Check it out. I highly recommend. French kiss to it all. Anyway, let me stop talking about it now. If you are intrigued by me or this channel, don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Keep living, keep smiling.